All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson to all the people that try and say that the Hebrew Israelites have a fake Hebrew. Right? They say that the Hebrew Israelites have a fake Hebrew. They laugh at what we call the name of the Lord, while at the same time saying that you can call the Lord whatever name you want to call him, because he'd be different names in different languages, right? Well, then my message to all you people that say that is this. Well, then, okay, according to what language we say we speak, that's Hebrew. Despite there not being too many people that can speak what we say is a language that we believe is a language. The way you would say the Lord's name in that language, which we call Lashawan Kwadash, is Yahweh, right? And his son's name would be Yahushai. Now, these people will laugh at that. But then at the same time, right, here's a question for all you people. Where did the first language come from, right? The first language that a human ever spoke in the first place, where did that come from, right? And then how about the second language that men ever spoke? And the third language, where did that ever come from, right? The language that Adam started speaking, where did that come from, right? And then the language that Noah spoke, and then the language that Abraham spoke, and then the language that Jacob spoke, and then the language that the Philistines spoke, right? And then the language that the Moabites spoke. Where did all of those languages come from, man? Did they have to go to college and university for those and have to have dictionary, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, in order for them languages to be accepted? Right? This is Genesis chapter 11 and verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. So there was a time when everyone on the earth spoke the same language, right? Verse 2, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them rough and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and for slime had they mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And Yahweh said, behold, the people is one, and they all have one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down and confound their language, that they may understand that they may not understand one another's language. Now, for all you people that laugh at the Lashawan Kwadash, right? And you say, oh man, they've got this crazy Hebrew that's not really Hebrew, right? Well, do you think that any of these language that was given during this time that I'm reading about right now in the book of Genesis, the 11th chapter, do you think that any of these languages at this particular time that got given to all the people that ended up being descendants of the survivors of the flood, were any of these languages English? Do you think that any of these languages were Spanish? Do you think that any of these languages were French? And the answer, if you're being honest, should be no, right? So if the answer is no, then how comes you are so readily to accept that somebody speaking French can call the Lord the name, and he's going to call the Lord, the Heavenly Father, a name in French when he's speaking, and then the Spanish speaker is going to say a word in Spanish, and then the English speaker is going to say what they're going to say in English. But then when we're saying Yahweh and we're saying Yahushai, you laugh and you mock. And this is what I mean about you Christians, man. You're idiots. And most of you scoffers, you're idiots and you're hypocrites, man, because you make one rule when you're debating or complaining about the Hebrew Israelites doctrine. And then it's another rule for those other people that live in the land of Israel that want to say that they're the chosen, right? And then it's another standard that you give to Christianity. And you chop and change the standard on what you filter the scriptures by based on who you're talking to. But Hebrew Israelites don't do that. Every single person that a Hebrew Israelite talks to, they're going to tell them the same doctrine, right? They ain't going to change. They don't change it because they're talking to this person or because they're talking to that person. And that's why most people can't stand them. That's why most people can't stand Hebrew Israelites, man. Because they just tell the truth no matter who they're talking to. That's why the Hebrew Israelites have got so many scoffers. That's why so many people have to try and lie about the doctrine and try and make out like it's a thing that we're saying only black people are going to receive salvation, which is a damn lie, because the 12 tribe sign has several people on there that the world would not consider black. But because you people in this world are such demons, you're prepared to go against your own belief system if it means that you can come up against the Hebrew Israelites, man. Because you wouldn't say that any of these languages that was given in Genesis 11th chapter were English. You wouldn't say that around this time people are speaking English. You wouldn't say that. Because we already know that the letter J is around 400 years old, so that wouldn't have been involved in that time. The letter J wasn't being used in this time. But because you people are such hypocrites and want to come up against the Hebrew Israelites so bad, you want to mock that they speak a language that you think isn't qualified, right? But what about in this time? What about in this time then, right? What about in this time? The fact that people had different languages was deliberately done, because then they wouldn't think that the other person's qualified. They'd be like, well, I'm not talking to these people no more because they're talking something that I don't understand what they're saying. But all you scoffers, you're so against the Hebrew Israelites that you're prepared to come up against things that are even in the Bible, man. You're even prepared to come up against things that's in the Bible, because where did these languages come from? These languages one day did not exist, and then the next day they existed, and certain people from different nations could just speak them that couldn't ever speak them before. Do you understand that? So let's go to the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, right? Genesis 10 and verse 2. The sons of Japheth, Gomer. In fact, let's go verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem and Ham. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. So the way how Yahweh would have ended up separating their languages, we already know that he would have definitely split the languages up based on who's a son of Ham, who's a son of Shem, and who's a son of Japheth, right? We already know he would have split it by that. But then there would have been potentially other splits too, based on which son you are from Japheth, and which son you are from Ham, and which son you are from Cush, right? But at one point, these languages did not exist. Like literally, there was a day where the languages didn't exist, and then within minutes, those languages existed, and people that had never spoke those languages before could speak them. So all you scoffers that have got a problem with us coming out as Hebrew Israelites and saying that we believe that this is a real legit language, and we believe that Abba Gada Hawa Zaka Taya Kala Mana Sa I Pa Tazakwara Shatha is a real alphabet, right? Who cares what you think? Because there was a time when Cheerio, mate, Bob's your uncle, and Fanny's your aunt, that wasn't no language. And if he would have spoke like this to how I'm speaking right now in ancient Israel, they would have looked at me like I got two heads. They wouldn't have accepted that I'm saying anything that's of a real. They would have thought I was doing that. Speaking how I'm speaking right now back in ancient Israel would have been no different to how we look at people, these bug outs that do all that fake speaking in tongues, rabba shabba loto, poko, koko, pogo stick, and all that mad talk that they be doing, man. So for all you scoffers out there was a time where these languages that we speak now, English, French, did not exist. Right? These more known languages, more commonly known languages now. Were these languages being spoken of in Genesis, the 11th chapter? No, they weren't. But because these languages are popular, right? And the thing that we say is a language, Lashawan Kwadash, right? And we say that when you see the tetragrammaton, right? That is saying Yahweh. You people can say, nah, I ain't saying that. But we're saying it is. And we're even given an explanation of what we think each character says, right? What each, the Yah, we say the Aleph or whatever, these people would say the Aleph would be a, right? Then we got the Yah character and we say that's the Yah. We explain what each of the tetragrammaton letters, how each sound would be, and that's how we come to the conclusion that the name means Yahweh. Now, I ain't even seen none of these other people do that. They don't ever go into what each character sound would be, so that you can get the understanding as to why they'll say, for example, the name of the Lord's Jehovah, or why they'll say that the name of the Lord is Hashem. They don't break down each character and say, okay, the first character is the Ha, and the other parts are the Hashem. They don't do that. But Hebrew Israelites go into the Yahweh Sha'ai. They do that. But everyone wants to laugh at the Hebrew Israelites saying that this is a language, a legit language that we believe is a legit language, right? And they'll laugh and say, no, it ain't, right? But if there was billions of people speaking it, is it a legit language? So how many people have to be speaking something for it to be a legit language? Because there was a time where nobody was speaking all of the languages that magically came around through the power of Yahweh, right? And then all of a sudden people were speaking them, and then they became a language. There was a time where certain words that people spoke, even in this modern time, were not considered words. For example, bootylicious. There was a time where that was not considered an actual thing, but because enough people started saying it, then it became a language. But really, it was a language anyway, because it's a way for people to communicate. Just like how sign language is a language, right? Morse code is a language. Now, just because I don't speak Morse code or because I don't understand sign language, if two people are speaking that between each other, that's a language. And if two people have come up with a language between themselves that involves blinking and humming, just because I don't understand it, that don't mean it's not a language. And out there in this world, Yahweh could make there be a way for two people to communicate that they're saying Yahweh amongst themselves by blinking. But that don't mean that I can come and tell them, nah, that ain't a language. Genesis chapter 11 again, and verse 7. Go to, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. But obviously some of the people that was down there ended up still understanding each other's speech, but they were split based on their nation, right? Based on their nation, they were split. And Yahweh gave these different nations different languages deliberately so that they could be separated. Now, the one nation that didn't understand the other nation's language, they would have thought about themselves, man, I don't know what the hell they're saying. They ain't talking properly, right? Them people over there, they ain't talking properly. They got some funky language that they're talking about. But was it a language though? Yes, it was. Yes, it was a language. And when you go to the scriptures, right, it says this very clearly. Exodus chapter 3 and verse Exodus chapter Salakia, man. I went to the scripture for ages. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 15. And God said moreover unto Moses, thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh, power of your fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, the power of Jacob have sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. So his name's his name. It don't change based on, okay, back in 300 BC, his name was Yahweh, but then he decided to change it by deep hole, and now his name's something. No, his name's his name, man. And no, none of us worms can try and say that his name's something else, man. And a vocab Malone, any Christians, any of you linguistic experts, right? You can't explain where those other languages would have just came from. How many languages exist on the earth? So if you want to mock the Lashawan Kodash thing that we're speaking, well, there would have been a time where every other language was getting mocked too then. Right? There would have been a time where every language was getting mocked, and there would have been a time where all the people that are speaking English right now, if they would have went back in the time of the book of Genesis, they would have been getting mocked for speaking English. They'd been like, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell is that? What the hell is hello? What the hell is bye? What are you on about? What the hell is that they were speaking? Just like how if an English speaker right now sees a French speaker, for the most part, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, man. They don't know. But for all you people out there that you want to try and laugh at the language, well, where did all the other languages come from, man? Where? And there would have been a time where the languages that all you Christians want to try and accept as readily speakable languages right now didn't exist. Like, simple as that. There would have been a time where it didn't exist, man. And again, do you Christians out there think that in Genesis the 11th chapter, people were speaking English? Do you think that one of the languages that ended up getting given was English? Because if you're saying yeah, then that means that you're thinking that people have been speaking English for a hell of a long time, for thousands of years. Right? You're thinking that people have been speaking English for millenniums. But is that true though? And then if you would say, yeah, some of them languages were French, well then that means you're saying that people have been speaking that for millenniums again. And that means you're saying that there was a possibility that the name that Moses was given was in English, because Genesis happened before Exodus, right? But I'm pretty sure you'd all agree that Moses would have been speaking Hebrew. And I'm pretty sure if he was being honest, you would admit that that Yiddish stuff that people are speaking ain't Hebrew. Yiddish is not what Moses would have been speaking. So laugh at that language too then. If you're going to really take it there and be just a language scoffer, mock that language too. But like I said before, these Christians are not fair in their criticism. They criticize the Israelites one way, and then they criticize the JOOs another way, right? And then they criticize the Latino Israelite one way, and then they criticize the so-called black man that's an Israelite another way, because when they're talking to a so-called black man that's an Israelite, they're going to say, so you're only saying black people can get saved? But then if they're talking to a so-called white man that says that he's a Hebrew Israelite, they can't come down that route. So they'll have to come some other snake path, when really the overall thing is that they just don't like the message. Yeah, that's what it really is. When we come down to the nitty-gritty of it all, they just don't like the message, man. And let me see if I can find that scripture, man. Where they said that let me see if I can find it, man. Here we go. It was Matthew 11. This is Matthew chapter 11. I thought it was John 11. This is Matthew chapter 11 and verse 18. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he hath a devil. Right? And then Christians would even say in their mind that John the Baptist wasn't speaking what we're speaking. So, okay, let me add to this point here. John came neither eating nor drinking, and he didn't come speaking Lashawan Kwadash neither, according to what Christians would say, right? But what did they say? They still said he had a devil, right? The Son of Man came eating and drinking. So the Son of Man didn't do what John was doing. He was eating and drinking, right? He was eating and drinking like all foods that are lawful, of course, right? But drinking alcohol. But John was a Nazarite, right? So he had a different diet. If I'm not mistaken, John the Baptist was a Nazarite, man. He had a different he had a different restriction on what he could eat and drink, right? The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold, a man gluttonous and a wine bibber. So even if we was to speak Yiddish, saying that we're the Hebrew Israelites, man, guess what? They're still gonna scoff, right? If it was to speak French, but we say we're Hebrew Israelites, they're gonna scoff. If it was to speak the most Jordan Peterson linguistic tone of speech, right, and was to speak it in the most posh way, they'd still scoff, because they don't like the message, right? If it was to say, you know what, the Lashawan Kwadash thing, okay, it's not really a language, but we still believe that his name's Yahweh and his son's name's Yahweh Shai, they still would have a problem, because they don't want us to say that we're the Hebrew Israelites. They want us to be black. And that's what the problem is, man. Let me read this again. For Matthew chapter 11 and verse 18, for John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he hath a devil. So they were saying that John the Baptist was a demon, right? And then Yahweh Shai came a different way to John. So they probably would have said to John, you know what? I would have believed what you're saying still, but it's the way that you eat and drink is kind of wild. You know, I really can't get down with the way you're eating them locusts with honey, man. I really just can't get down with that. If you would have been a bit more relaxed on your eating and you would have just ate like a bit more, you know what I mean? And you would have just drank alcohol a bit more, but you're a bit too strict on that whole Nazarite thing and that whole bugs thing, man. I just can't get down with that. They might have said that to John. But was that true though? No. They were just looking for a way out to not believe, man. They were looking for an excuse rather than admit we just don't like you. And as long as you're gonna say that stuff, we hate your guts. That's what the real truth is. It's not, oh, they're so rough and we think they're racist. That's got nothing to do with it, because Christianity's been racist towards so-called black people since it was existed. The Christianity that Edomites like to believe in anyway. The Christianity that Vocab Malone wants to try and push on our people. That's been about racism. That's been about racism for time. And even when we go to a deeper aspect of that whole Christianity doctrine, that's about trying to steal the inheritance of the Israelites away from them. That's literally about theft. But doesn't the Bible say thou shalt not steal? Supersessionism is a breaking of the 10 Commandments. Because you're trying to say that you deserve something that belongs to another person. You're trying to steal somebody else's inheritance, man. Matthew chapter 11 and verse 18 again. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he hath a devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold, a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners, but wisdom is justified of her children. Now, when they would have been scoffing about Yahweh Shai, they might have said, you know what? I would have believed him, But the way that he drinks, like, I just can't get down with that. He's coming like the geezer's an alcoholic, man. I just can't. He just drinks too much, man. But that would have been cap, because John the Baptist wasn't doing that, and they still had a problem. You know what I mean? And then they might say, oh, you know what? I don't really like how this brother teaches. He's always effing and blinding, man. He's always on a hype, man. Like, every single time I see the guy teach, it's like the guy wants to fight, and like he's ready for a scrap. Right? If he came with a bit of a softer way and a bit more like a intellectual, I would have got down with that. No, you wouldn't have. You would have still scoffed. Because if there'll be a brother that's a Hebrew Israelite that don't speak nothing like another brother that swears, and you don't like him neither, you'll say to that brother that speaks the way that you speak, oh, you'll be all right, apart from this Hebrew thing. Because you just really got a problem. Because outside of the Lashawan Kodash thing that you people have got a problem with so much, and you want to say they got this wacky Hebrew and all that, well, you still got problems and things that you want to scoff about anyway. Right? So some people are trying to, oh, it's the way that he swears. I just can't get down with that swearing that he does. Okay. Well, what about the other brother that don't swear, that believes exactly the same thing that he says? Him swearing ain't stopping you from believing that. Him swearing, okay, there's a brother over there that's standing right next to him. He don't swear as much, but he believes exactly the same thing. So now what are you going to say? Oh, but if he wasn't bold, then I could have got down with how he was speaking, because if he wasn't, but like, I just really can't get down with a brother that's bold, because him being bold, and not bold by choice, but he's bold because the Lord took his hair away. You know that he must be wicked if the Lord took his hair away, because it says Yahweh Shai had hair white like wool, and that's a big afro, man, and a big beard, so he must be wicked. The Lord obviously judged him and took his hair away. Okay, well, Elijah was bold. So what are you going to say about that then? You know what I mean? What are you going to say? Yahweh Shai had hair, right? We can read about his hair. Okay, but Elijah was bold, and Elijah is John the Baptist. So now what are you going to say? Oh, well, if he was taller, I really just can't get down with a brother that's short, Like, I just, like, if he's too short, I need somebody that I can look up to for me to get the truth. Okay, well, how tall are you? All right, I'm 5'9" then. All right, well, there's a brother over there that's 6 foot plus. Do you believe now? Oh, nah. Oh, well, you know what? Well, if this brother was rich, you know what I mean? Like, you'll know them by their fruits. So if he's rich, like, these men ain't got no money, they're just dusty. Like, if they had money, I'd believe. Like, I would believe it then if they had money. Okay, how much money do you have? I got this, and that amount. Okay, how much money do you think that they need to have for you to believe them? And okay, they need to have at least the amount that I make or more. Okay, well, let me point you to this guy here. He's got the same amount of money as you or more. Do you believe now? Exactly. So the people are always going to come up with something to try and have an excuse to not believe. Oh, it's the language that they speak. Oh, they're dusty. Oh, they swear. Oh, they're teaching about the law. But there's other people over there that say that it's not all about the law. It's about election. It's about predestination. It's about grace. Oh, nah, man. But they say this though. Yeah, but they're too. Oh, but you know what? Nah, but like, there's always gonna be an excuse. One scoffer is gonna say these brothers are too soft. You know what I mean? Another person gonna say, you know what, this guy's too rough. Another person gonna say, you know what, these men are too unintellectual. Someone else is gonna say they're too educated. It's too hard. Their doctrine's too hard to understand. I need it a bit more easy. Another person gonna say, man, that just too. I can't. So you're telling me now I can't do nothing that I used to do. Then another person's gonna say, man, they're not even about teaching the laws at all. So there's always gonna be something that you people are gonna say. Oh, they've got a wacky Hebrew. But then if they saw a Hebrew Israelite that was speaking Yiddish, they still wouldn't believe, man. Because it's not in them to believe, right? It's not made for them to believe, man. It's not made for them to believe. Let me get this scripture. There's always going to be an excuse for why these scoffers want to scoff. But really, the overall thing is that they wasn't chosen to believe. Right? Man's goings of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? John chapter 15 and verse 16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you. You should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. That whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he may give it you. These things I command you, that ye love one another. If the world hate you, you know it hated me before it hated you. And that's the reason why. This world hates Yahweh. This world hates Yahweh Shai, and it don't matter what excuse these people give for why they don't believe the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. The real reason is that right there, because they hate the Yahweh, and they hate his son Yahweh Shai, man. It's not none of the other stuff that they're saying. That's all excuses. Oh, I would have believed if these men weren't dusty. They're too broke for me to believe them. Okay, but there's another person here that's got a better job than you, and you don't even know it. Do you believe now? Oh, but he's just too boastful in his money. No, you don't. No, he ain't. Because he never told you about that money. I told you. You wouldn't have known if I told you about it until I told you about his money. Oh, nah, but you know what? Yeah, but what car does he drive, though? What car do you want him to drive? A Porsche 911. Okay, he's got a Porsche 911. Oh, nah, but he's too much about money now, though. There'd always be something that these people are going to say. There's always going to be some excuse that these people are going to have to say as to why they don't believe in the doctrine. But the real reason why that these people would not want to admit, because then they'd have to confess that they're wicked, right? The real reason why is that they hate Yahweh Shai, man. And that they hate Yahweh. And those Pharisees, right, in the ancient times that was around in the time of Yahweh Shai, when Yahweh Shai spoke that parable unto them, you really come to find out through the parable that they knew he was Yahweh Shai. And they were hoping that if they killed him, that they would get his position. Right? And in the time right now, the people that are scoffing, the prophets of Yahweh Shai's second coming, right? They really hate Yahweh Shai. And they also hate the people that are talking about Yahweh Shai coming back, because they want to be able to get rid of those people that are talking about the person that they hate coming back. So they're going to come up with things like, oh, the language that they're speaking is wacky. But okay, where did all these other languages come from then? There's always going to be something that these people are going to have to say. But really, it's just because they hate the Lord. They hate the Father and they hate the Son, man. Verse 19, if ye were of the world would love his own. So if we were demons, we were all about just giving it over to this world through all the things that these people have to do to make it in this world, man. And anything that you had to do, any kind of degrading of your own integrity that you had to do, we was down to do that. We were throwing parties every Saturday. Oh, man, we're going to rave, man. Yo, you're handing out flyers for parties and that, right? All the women would definitely love us, right? If we just always had a party going off on the weekend, right? That they could just wear their dress down and have their leg all out and that. They'd love us. And then if we were just flowing wealth, right? And giving other men access to these women, the men would love us. But because it's a thing that makes people have to look at themselves in the mirror, then people have got a problem, because they've got a problem with Yahweh, because they don't want their wicked ways to be looked at, man. Because it don't feel nice when you actually realize, man, I'm not as righteous as I thought I was. It makes you feel hurt to the soul, man. But through doing that, there's a blessing at the end of it. Because then you end up realizing that I need Yahweh to help me. And he sent me a help, sent me a savior, Yahweh Shai, his son. John chapter 3 and verse 16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And that world ain't talking about the whole earth, man. He's talking about the world of the Israelites, right? Because if God loved the whole world, he wouldn't have made them get different languages way back in the book of Genesis, man, which means in the beginning. In the beginning, he wouldn't have gave different languages after he'd already punished the world once with a flood. He wouldn't have did that. For God so loved the world, for Yahweh so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Yahweh sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him, that the Israelites through him, might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yahweh. Right? Because he's condemned. He ain't kept all the laws. So all you scoffers out there, you ain't kept all the laws. And even if you have, right? Let's just say hypothetically you have. Okay. But in keeping the laws, did you sin though? Yes. And then you needed a sacrifice, right? But Yahweh done away with the sacrifice. So who became your sacrifice then? Yahweh replaced all those animal sacrifices with the sacrifice of his son. And he only gave that sacrifice once for every single Israelite still now to this day. So every time an Israelite sins now, his son's blood covers that sin if they believe in it. But if they don't believe in it and they're thinking that they're keeping all the laws, but then they're already condemned, man. Verse 19. And this is the condemnation. In fact, verse 18, he that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because ye have not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yahweh. And this is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. And that's why all these people that they want to say, oh, you know what, but y'all man are speaking some next Hebrew, man. When I looked up that in the dictionary, I never saw that in no dictionary. You're making it up. Okay. Well, what about all the other languages that were established in times of human history? Were them languages made up? There would have been a time where the language that you speak right now, wherever you are in the world, people would have said, that's made up. They were like, that's not a language. What are you talking about? What do you mean, bonjour? What's that? What's bonjour mean? What's the bonjour? What are you talking about? There would have been a time where that was happening. And this name that these Christians like to call on so much, this so-called Jesus name, there was a time where that word didn't exist. That word has not been around even 1,000 years. So what are you talking about, man? Was people calling him that during the time when he was walking the earth? No, there wasn't. But this is how hypocritical you people are, that when it comes to Hebrew Israelites, you're going to give all these things. When a Hebrew Israelite says that they're an Israelite, now you need to see his dad in ancient Israel farming on the land. You need to see him in Gideon. You need to see him in Bethlehem or something. You know what I mean? But then when it comes to anyone else that say, "Oh, I'm a Jew," okay, how I didn't know that? Oh, I didn't know. You don't question them. But when it comes to us, can you speak Hebrew? As if that makes you a language. As if that makes you part of a nationality, being able to speak a language. When the thing about languages is that they can be learned, right? You can learn a language. You can literally learn a language. You know what I mean? That back in the time where people were speaking Hebrew during the time of Yahweh Shai, there would have been people that were speaking Hebrew, that same Hebrew that the Israelites were speaking, that were not Israelites. So being able to speak Hebrew don't make you an Israelite. And there would have also been people, as we can read in the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter, that were Israelites that didn't speak Hebrew. So were they Israelites? And let me get the scripture. It says, and they were Jews devout. Let me just get it. Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. and they were dwelling at Jerusalem, Jews, devout men. So these people were Jews and they were devout men out of every nation under heaven. So let's go even more. These people that it's mentioned in Acts, the 2nd chapter, they were Jews, right? They were devout men and they were out of every nation under heaven. Right? They came from all different nations under the earth. Verse 6, and when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that they heard every man speak in his own language. So these people were Jews, but they were speaking different languages. So no one was saying to them, you ain't no Jew, you ain't speaking Hebrew. So why is that being said to us when it wasn't being said to these people? And these events took place thousands of years ago. So you can't say that, because he can't speak Hebrew, he ain't no Israelite. That's bullshit. Right? That's bull. Right? That's Cod's wallop. Yeah, that's Cod's wallop, mate. For you to be trying to talk like that. Because when it comes to any of these other people, you don't say the same thing to them. So why are you saying it to us? Why is it one rule for us and then another rule for them? When Effie was just saying that if he came out and said, oh, I'm a Israelite spiritually, you wouldn't say, you know what, prove it, show me your spirit with an Israelite citizenship on there. You wouldn't say none of that. You just accept it as if you've ever seen any spirits, man. You ain't seen no spirit to say that you're an Israelite spiritually. You ain't seen your spirit. Who are you to say that? Who do you think you are to say that you've seen spirits, man? Who are you to say that you're an Israelite spiritually? Who are you to say that? Who are you to say that you're saved? Who are you to you're saved, but your diet consists of a food that the Lord through the Torah clearly said don't eat it, but you're saved though. I don't think so, mate. So who are you if we can't say that we're speaking the language of the ancient Israelites, right? Then who are you to say that your spirit is the same as an Israelite of ancient Israel when you ain't keeping none of the same laws as that they did, but you're thinking that you're just as righteous as them? How dare you say that then? If we can't say anything what we're saying, then how dare you people say the things that you're saying, man? Who do you think you are? But that's the thing with you hypocrites, man. It's always one rule for us. And then when it comes to anybody else, oh, now it's a completely different thing that they have to have as a standard for them. So we got to prove that we're Israelites. But you haven't said the same thing to nobody else. And then the thing that we need as proof is a lot more strict than what they'd need as proof. Our proof would have to be some form of DNA test, whereas their proof would just have to be them saying, my mom's one. And then you don't have to ever meet their mom. They've just said it. My mom's one. That's why. Because we know it's on the mother's side, which is not true, by the way. But that's what they'll say. These people will say they're speaking Yiddish. Oh yeah, this is what they were speaking during the times of Yaakov. And then you're going to say, yeah, that sounds about right. No, prove it. Prove that. But you don't say it to them, do you? Because you're hypocrites, man. Because it sits more well on your stomach for them to be the chosen and for them to be Israelites. You're happy to just accept that. But then when we say that we are, you ain't going to ask them the same questions as what you ask us. Showing that you people are unfair, you're hypocrites, and you're wicked, and you're demons, man. And you've changed your doctrine significantly since the Hebrew Israelites started teaching the Bible. Why is that? Shouldn't your doctrine have stayed the same? And our doctrine more have conformed to start matching more to your doctrine? But it's your doctrine that's more starting to change towards our doctrine. And you're starting to use some of the sources that Hebrew Israelites use to explain the Bible. Vocab Malone didn't used to have a beard like that when he was teaching and when he was trying to come up against the Hebrew Israelites. But now all of a sudden, this guy's got a beard now. Why is he starting to try and have a beard when he didn't used to say that you don't need to do none of that before? And we'd probably come to find out that this geezer stopped eating pork too. You'd probably come to find out that, in fact, I ain't even going to put that one, say that he'd go and do something like that. Maybe not, man. He looks like he eats a lot of pork to me, actually, now that I mention it. But anyway, these people are hypocrites, man. And the real truth of as to why these people scoff is just that they hate the Lord and their deeds are evil and they want to be able to stay doing their wickedness. That's what the real truth of it all is. They'll say, oh, it's the language, oh, it's how they speak, he's speaking rough, oh, he's effing and blinding. But then somebody else that don't even do no swearing, they still ain't gonna believe him. Oh, but he comes at it a bit too rough and he don't really break down words. Okay, well, there's another person over there that does break down words. Do you believe it now? Nah, I don't. There's literally Hebrew Israelite brothers that speak Queen's English, softly spoken voices and all of that, right? And they don't swear, but they have scoffers. But them same scoffers, if they saw another brother that does swear, and they come with the word rough, they're gonna say, man, why are you effing and blinded with the Bible in your hand? But then when they see the other brother that don't swear, they're still gonna find something to scoff about anyway. So it wasn't about the swearing, it was about the doctrine in general. That we believe we're the Israelites, man. John chapter 3 and verse 19, and this is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world. The truth of the Bible is in the earth, right? And previously the light was obviously Yahushua. And the truth of the Bible that the Hebrew Israelites teach is about Yahushua, right? That light is coming to the world and men love darkness rather than light. And that's a fact, man. People in this world much love being wicked way more than they love being righteous, man. People think that being righteous is boring. They think that being righteous makes you a party pooper, you know? But they don't mind, as this common phrase now that's in the world, they don't mind being on demon time. You know what I mean? They don't mind doing that. That makes you fun, according to this world, because men love darkness rather than light. And that includes women too. Women love darkness rather than light too, man. Men and women love darkness rather than light. Verse 20, for everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest their deeds should be reproved. So that's the real reason why these scoffers have got something to say, but they're always trying to find something as to why they don't like the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. Oh, they're broke. Okay, yeah, but you're just a demon really though. That's why you really don't like it. Because if there was an Israelite that said the same things and he was richer than you, 10 times richer, you'd still have a problem. You'd still have a problem. You'd still be saying he needs to be tagged or whatever wicked ass terms you want to try and put on your own people because you're a demon. You'd still have something to say, right? Oh, he's broke. But if he was rich, he's too rich. He's too rich. He's about money too much. But then if he was poor, you'd say he's broke. Or he's ugly. Okay, well if he was handsome, you'd have a problem. Or he talks with a stutter. But if he talked with too much of a vocabulary, they'd say, man, he thinks he's he thinks he's sick, you know. He thinks he's sick, you know. Why is he always using them big words, man? He needs to break it down for the people on a more plain layman's terms. But then if he spoke on a layman's term, you'd be like, hey, he ain't intelligent enough. There'd always be some, or if he had big muscles and he had big bodies, oh, he goes gym too much, man. I need a person that looks more like me. And then if he looked more like you, you'd say, man, I need somebody that I can look up to. There's always going to be something that these scoffers are going to say. But the truth is, they hate the Lord. They hate Yahweh. And they hate Yahushua. That's the truth. That's the real truth, man. And that's why they've got a grievance whenever a Hebrew Israelite opens up the Bible and starts reading from there. Because them words are like 5,000 daggers being thrown at them spiritually. Or it's like a big torch being shined on their wickedness, man. Being shined into their face. Verse 20. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest their deeds should be reproved. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God. So all these people that have got a grievance with the language, that's one thing that they have to scoff. But I've already gave examples as to where, okay, you've got a problem with the language, the Lashawan Kodash thing, but where did all the languages that you accept come from? Wasn't there a time where they didn't exist? Wouldn't there have been a time where those things that people were saying, those words that people were saying, people would have laughed at those things, right? And how many people have to speak a language for you to consider it as a language? If two people come up with a language based on knocking on a door, right? And I can't speak it, but they can communicate with each other with that. Isn't that a language? Yes, it is. It is a language. Those people that do that clicking with their tongue and all that, that's a language. So if you're gonna laugh at the Lashawan Kwadash thing, well, are you gonna laugh at those things too? Are you gonna laugh at sign language? They ain't even making sounds when they say that. So is that a language? But you would say yes, wouldn't you? So then why are you laughing at the Lashawan Kodash thing, especially considering that languages that came around, especially in this time of the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11th chapter, there was literally a day, the day before all those people that started speaking those languages that were given, the day before those languages did not exist. And then the next day, or when that time came to be, loads of people speaking those things, hundreds of thousands and thousands of people speaking it, and they all knew how to communicate among those people that was given the ability to speak those languages amongst each other, man. So what are you people talking about? You just admit the truth, man. Why can't you just be truthful and say, I don't want black people to be the Israelites because I hate them? Why can't you just come out and say that? Why can't you people just come out and say, you know what? I understand what you're saying, but me personally, right? I don't like black people. I hate their black skin, which is really not black skin. It's really brown. I don't like them, right? We put them in slavery. I don't want them to get revenge. And this doctrine that they're teaching allows them hope that they're going to get revenge for these things. And I don't like that because my ancestors did this to them. So I'm scared that that stuff that they're talking about in that revenge is going to happen to me. So I'd rather them just be black, because when they're black, I know how to handle that. But when they're this Hebrew Israelite thing and they can always open up the Bible and they can find a verse to explain why they deserve justice, I don't like that. That don't sit well with me. Why don't you just say that? Because that's the truth, right? And then why don't you, on top of, go back even further to the real truth, is that you hate the Lord Yahweh and you hate his son Yahweh Shai. Why don't you just come out and say that, man? Because you're demons, that's why. Why don't you just come and say the real truth, man? And guys like Vocab Malone, why don't you just say the truth that you hate black people and that you hate Latinos and that you hate Native Americans and you don't want them to get revenge? You don't want them to receive revenge. You don't want them to receive justice. You wouldn't even want them to receive, which I don't really care about this, by the way, but the so-called reparations thing, you wouldn't want them to receive that, right? You don't want them to receive justice. You don't want them to receive nothing. You want them to get over it. And in their getting over it, they don't even become the number 2 nation. They still stay at exactly the bottom where that event of the Atlantic slave trade made them be among all nations. You want them to just stay there and not complain. That's what you want. You want them to shut up, not ask for nothing, and continually, when any other nation wants to get rich, they use our people to get rich, and then we can't say nothing about it. That's what you people want. But you're not going to admit that because you're wicked. But that's what they really want, man. They don't want us to receive anything. They don't want us to have nothing, man. And they're always going to come up with an excuse according to the doctrine. They try and find one point and be like, or one thing about our character as to why they don't believe. But there's hundreds of thousands of different personalities that believe that they're Hebrew Israelites. There's people that might be more funny. There's people that might be more austere. There's people that are going to be stoic. There's people that are not going to be as stoic. And all of these scoffers are going to find an excuse based on one person's personality to say, this is why I don't believe because of him. But the real reason why they don't believe is because of what the doctrine says. And because they hate Yahweh and they hate Yahweh Shai. Right? And I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Ba'Shem Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.